delighted to introduce our resource person, Dr. Devesh Bathla, Center Director and Professor, Business Analytics, Chitkara University. He holds a doctorate in management. He has a vast experience in the field of business analytics and is passionate about corporate training and academia. He is the key member in the board of studies at many leading institutions. He has also published 2 books with an international publishing house at Germany. He is highly experienced in corporate tools from leaders, SAS, IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, Tableau in areas of data mining, data quality, data visualization, etc. He has given analytical solutions to global clients from diverse domains of IT, BFSI, healthcare, EdTech, and more. He has collaborated with various partners such as BCG, SAS, IBM on CLM projects. He has created web courses on statistics, business analytics for professionals, consumed for online learning globally. He is highly experienced in project and team management, strategic planning, and budget management. He is expertise in customer lifecycle management, product management, and channel sales. He has also directed timely execution of marketing strategies, product launches, and new advertising campaigns. It's really a great honor to have such an remarkable person with us today. Now, I would like to request our resource person, Dr. Devesh Bathla, to take over the session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Indeed, I am very thankful for having me here as the resource person. So first of all, I want to wish everyone a very, very good morning and a very warm welcome. And again, I feel blessed and very honored to be part of such an exciting event organized by IFET College of Engineering, Tamil Nadu. And on behalf of AICTE, they are organizing this event. And it's a great platform and a wonderful opportunity for everyone and each one of us participating in this activity of short-term training program to learn and eventually to further share their knowledge with their disciplines. To my mind, most of us attending the training are from academia and majority of us would be teachers. So in our granthas and the Vedas, so the teacher hold a very prestigious spot. A teacher is someone who helps an individual to meet God. As it is rightly said that Guru Gobind dono khade kaku lage paaye, baliharu Guru apne, jin Gobind diyo milai. So these are the teachers who help their students not only to become a great professional, but also a great human being. I am again highly blessed and fortunate to be part of such an encouraging event. I want to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I am a learner for life and I am an industry practitioner. My name is Devesh Bathla. My academic achievements are I'm an engineer, an MBA, and a PhD in the field of mobile commerce. My experience ranges from Virgin Mobile UK to Tata Teleservices Limited India and Vodafone UK and India. So I've spent most of my experience, most of my professional years working with corporates, and more than a decade I've spent with them and worked on various projects during this stint. And the organization I have worked with start with SAS. SAS is a world leader in analytics. Initially, when SAS got launched, it was called Statistical Analytical Software, but later called as SAS. After that, I got an opportunity to work with BCG on certain customer lifecycle management projects, followed by IBM. I worked on various IBM tools like IBM Watson, etc., MMFA, and whatnot. And I am really happy that I get this opportunity and God has been very kind and I always wanted to do this because my intent was to create a bridge between the corporate as well as academia. When I say corporate, the corporate learnings, the corporate expectation, and the pace at which the corporate works. I wanted to share that information, share those insights, share those experiences with the young generation. And through this platform, I would be sharing with those people who will further share their knowledge, and it will have an exponential learning experience. So we will be discussing through this platform our knowledge, our experiences, your knowledge, your experiences, maybe through the chat box, or you can unmute and speak about yourself, and then imparting the knowledge not only in our domain but also to our dear students. So with the permission of my honorable organizers and my respected colleagues from IFET, I would like to start this session. Thank you. So I'll be sharing my screen, and I am sure that the learnings that I have gained would be benefited to you. So we are doing this as part of the third training program, and IFET has, they have put in day in and day out effort to impart knowledge through this beautiful platform. I will be sharing my screen, and just in case you are able to see the correct window, I would request one of you to update that the window shown is correct. Just let me know if you're able to see the right screen. I mean, just the single screen or not the next slide. So one of you can unmute and tell me if the view is better.
Yes, sir. Your screen is clearly visible, sir.
So just tell me if you are able to see only one slide, which is basic visual analytics, or you are seeing some other slides as well.
Only one slide, sir. Remaining slides are on I, sir.
Wonderful. So thank you, ma'am. And again, we would be starting this session, and I pray to Goddess Saraswati to bless me with the knowledge and bestow the blessings that I am able to share my wisdom or the wisdom provided by God to me as part of the knowledge. So I am always thankful to the Goddess of knowledge for sharing the blessings through this platform. So we will be talking about basic visual analytics. See, I would keep my pace slow. I would try to give pauses in the entire process. I would speak slide slowly so that you are able to digest. And just for the benefit of the larger audience, I would be sharing these slides with you. As a teacher and as a learner, I believe that once we share the knowledge, it increases. I will share this so that you can share it with your further students or maybe your trainees and can use it anywhere and everywhere you want to. Okay, so this is basic visual analytics. So respected participants, see the view I think that you are seeing. You have just give me a minute. I think screen sharing has stopped. Yeah, I think here the view should be better. Yeah.
Better, sir.
Right. I think the view is better. So thank you, Dr. Anant, for the rescue operation. So he shared a snippet of what is being seen as a viewer. So basic visual analytics. Respected participants, you would have heard a saying that pictures speak louder than words. A picture is worth 1,000 words. A graph is, more powerful than many mathematical equations, etc. So why do we hear all these things? Why do people say that, okay, picture is louder? What is it? There was a Hindi movie that came by the name of Drishyam. Ajay Devgan and Tabu were featured in the movie. And somewhere the message was being given about the visual analytics. If we see anything, our mind tries to capture the picture. We may forget the conversation, but you would remember that you generally recall the scene that happened. If I tell you that, I have made payment to someone and I walk on to that store again and the person says, sir, you did not give me the payment. Trust me, I just go to the flashback and try to recall that scene. It would have happened with each one of you. I recall that scene and tell him that I was here, this person was also standing here, you were here, and maybe you were wearing a red t-shirt because that was looking fabulous, or you were looking very ugly, some other reason. But few things were there that I think I should have shared with them. So I am opening. Okay. Okay. So in case there's anything important in the chat box, I request respected organizers to please let me know so that I can ignore the chat box for now. So whenever you want to recall anything that has happened, maybe your favorite dish in the kitchen, your mother has made an amazing, fish and awesome rice. The moment you recall, the first thing that comes to your mind is the presentation of the platter that comes in. Somewhere or the other, human brain gets trained for the basic visual analytics. I would be using a pointer here. So basic visual analytics. Visual is the keyword. Pictures are the keyword. Louder than words are the keyword. I would be sharing insights on the knowledge about Tableau software. If I start from here, this is also data. Who says this cannot be data? I am a person who works for data, who has worked on data, and who is a great advocate for data. If I talk about data, this is again a data set. These may be entries, maybe comma separated values, maybe the outputs. However, to indicate the rows and the columns are missing. But even if it is a data and I tell you that, okay, dear participants, count the number 9, which is there in the presentation. How would you do it? You would start going one by one and count. And you would see, okay, first line, there's no 9, second line, there's no 9, third line, okay, there's no 9, then fourth line. Okay, but there are high chances of putting a great effort just to spot this number 9. My intent is to show you the power of visual analytics and remind you visual analytics is not always about showing graphs or table. If I simply change the color of an entry like this, it is very easy. So the first things first, it is not always the graph or the table which is visual. Even a small change in color affects the visual impact. We would be starting from here and giving you a food for thought. Anything that is being distinguished in the eye from the rest is the best visual analytics. What is visual analytics? I could have, asked you from the chat box, but in the interest of time, you can think for a minute that according to me, what is visual analytics? What should be visual analytics? Is it always graphs and table? Or you can always think of some statistical implications that is putting up mean, mode, median, standard deviation, regression of a huge data set is also visual analytics. It's pretty confusing, but we would learn through the session. I'm giving you a definition, which is a standard definition given by Andy Kirk, who is an author of data visualization, who says that visual analytics is the representation and presentation. See, there are two things. Representation and presentation of data that exploits our visual perception ability. He is talking about human beings' visual perception abilities in order to amplify cognition. amplify. That small change in color of the entries, that small change from color black to color red of number 9 amplified your cognition and leveraged visual perception abilities. That's what I wanted to communicate. The presentation will be shared with you, but just in case you are willing to make notes, I would be very delighted, because there may be some insights that I tend to give you that must not have been entered as part of the PPT, but may be shared through my experience. Now, this is the data that I'm talking about. Let's look at some data. It's all numbers that come in front of you. For ease of reference, if I tell you that these are BTech students, year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4, and these are their marks in the certain subject. Or maybe year 1 has 2 semesters, semester X and semester Y. Maybe this is the marks that they have got. Would have been CGPA if it is out of 20. So year 1, 2 entries are there, X and Y, and they have further entries of scores. Year 2, further entries of score. Year 3, further entries of score, and similarly goes for year 4. Now this data looks very bulky, hefty. There may be certain reasons. Even the double decimal here, the visual analytics gets impacted. If you watch closely, X has a better representation than Y. What would be the reason? Double decimal. So we come to a point that if we try to bring in more and more decimals unnecessarily, and can be avoided at a certain stage, if the figure is in crores, it is important. But if it is marks out of 20, not important that much. So a small increase in accuracy can bring in the visual analytics at a lower level. The visual perception gets impacted. If I want to be more crisp about this is what I would be sharing as part of the visualization for the individual who is seeing it. What is the mean? For example, you want to take this data to the HOD, and HOD may not be at one stage interested in the marks of the individual. However, the head of the department would be keen to know what is the average marks in X semester, what is the average marks in Y semester, what is the variance. So this is how you can present. But pictures speak louder than words. If I have to make a presentation looks more fancy, looks more appealing, looks more attractive and closer to life of the individual and soothing to the eyes, I will use this. Maybe the same data, but at a better visual. These were the marks that were there. I have drawn, and this is how I can present. The intent is, let's look at some data visually. The graphs are speaking louder than the entries. First things first, we should understand. Wherever it is convenient and important, we should try to bring in graphs for the viewer. Now, the agenda of this entire session. We would work on human perception and cognition. We would also work on visual analysis cycle, and we would be working on visualization best practices. We would start with human perception and cognition. In case you get any doubts throughout the session, I would request you to put in the chat box so that they can be addressed at a later stage during the Q&A session. Humans are slow at mental math. Now, if I tell you to do 34 by 72, you would be doing like this. Mental math is taking more time, but if I give you a pen and paper, you would take less time. If I tell you to multiply 365 into 24, maybe if you think and you are not Shakuntala Devi, then you would take time, okay, 365 into 24, okay, 365 into 20 is this, 365 into 4 is this, and now we would summate. However, if I give you a pen and paper, that's how you would do. And the time would be reduced dramatically. But we are faster when we see data. Like, I give you an example. If I tell you that this is the data of an organization, I will also be sharing a similar data set for the next session as a practice. If I give you this data set where that has categories, subcategories, and the customer segment, this is the real data set, and I tell you to see, the word is see, is to have a look for the losses that we have incurred. If these are the profits mentioned in positives and the losses are incurred in negative, I tell you to see the losses and give me the count. The option you are left with is to look for the negative sign, again, and count. Trust me, every entry would go in your mind, if then else. If it is negative, then it is loss, else it is profit. If it is negative, then it is loss, else it is positive. One after the other. Huge time investment. But a small action of change in color is easy. 4, 8, 10, 14, and 16. 10 seconds. A small change in color is also visual analytics. However, if this is a graph, we are going step by step. Till now, we have worked only in changing color. But the moment I put a graph to it, see, this entry, say if I talk about corporate, which is in bracket, represents losses, and the color red is highlighting, standing out that loss. It is very easy and very convenient to see. If I tell you to compare between the two tables, this was the original one. See, I was telling you, even these unnecessary decimals are creating a bad impression. Not required. $63 is good enough to see as a loss rather than 63.02. And this 63 represented in the bracket gives a better visualization or smoothness to the eyes. So, starting with the single point of a black and white table, the next step is to change colors wherever necessary, maybe green for the profits and red for the losses. Moving on to the graphical interpretation, as they say, pictures speak louder than words, and a graph is, way more impressive than many mathematical equations. We would be working on the graphs as part of this short-term training program. Now, pre-attentive visual attributes. There are very different and unique ways to represent the visual attributes. For instance, the length is also standing out if I represent my data in a bar graph, and the higher the length represent maximum entry, then length is benefiting me. There are graphs where the width of the graph helps to note the detail. Now, you would ask that why do I need put width of the graph when I can use only single platform as length? Now, the problem arises if I tell you to show sales as well as profit simultaneously in one bar graph. you are left with two options. Either one spike for the sales and the other spike for the profit, or if you are a smart business analyst, if you are a smart visual analyst, you would say the length is representing the sales, however, the width is representing the profit. I am making high sales like Maruti, but my profit ratio is less. But I am making low sales like Mercedes, but my profit width is more. That's how you can club one or two or more than that attributes in one single graph. The orientation is also standing out. This is a bubble chart where the size of the bubble also represents something, maybe profits, maybe revenue. We would be working on the geographical insights in our next session at 2 o'clock, where I will show you the implication of size in geographical insights. Shape. The different shape is also having a different meaning. For instance, I am representing the profits as circles, and if there's any loss, I have to put up a triangle. Remember, if the entry is done, you put up a tick mark. The entry is not done, you put up an X or a cross. There, the shape is representing something or the other. Curvature, again, the curve or the shape. Enclosure, if I'm enclosing something, I want to highlight something or the other. Even in our planet system, one of the planet is enclosed. It has a different meaning. 2D position, again on the x-axis and y-axis. The position helps you to identify outliers. Spatial grouping, these are together. Maybe I can do segmentation using this. They are closer. I can put up a different segment. Maybe kids, maybe women's section, maybe men's section. So I can do spatial grouping for segmentation. The color, the red represents the loss. See, the color is standing out. Intensity, darker color represents something you would also learn in the second section. So it is not always a bar graph, a pie chart, a histogram, a box and whisker, or a plot graph, or something, a donut, but it is also a basic visual attribute that can help the viewer quickly, have some pre-attentive or preconceived notions tick. Now, visual interruptions should not be there. I've seen during my experience that people come up with a beautiful graph, a great graph, but when they paste the graph on a PPT, it looks like this. It is a very hazy picture that is being seen. Hazy pictures are no welcome. One has to keep in mind certain hygiene factors that the hazy pictures, the hazy graphs, the hazy insights are a big no. The picture has to be clear enough so that the insights can be taken out. Again, a visual interruption. You are not able to understand that whether the person is trying to climb or stepping down, and where is the driver. So visual interruptions are not welcome at all. Now, what is the cycle of visual analysis? What's the cycle? We have read about product life cycle, that says introduction, growth, maturity, decline. Similarly, visual analysis also has a cycle, and how it works, I will show you. Now, the first step is the task. Then you get data, you find structure, you get a data view, you develop insight, you act and share. I can share example for each one of you, but I'm giving you a food for thought for any of the activity that you have done. So for a marketing person, if a marketing person is planning to do an activity on people who are not using the services of a particular operator, say Airtel is planning to give discount to people who are not using their services for last 3 months and want to give a discount, they would start from here. They would get the task that I want to give a discount to people who are not using my services. They would take data of the usage of people of last 3 months. They would find a structure that I want to have a structure where people not using data on last 3 months is section A and using is section B. They would have a data view. How do they want to see? Maybe on a graph of a pie that people who are not using should show on one side and who are using should show on one side, maybe a bar graph. What is the variance of the people? Then develop insights that, okay, 20% people or this much pie size is not using, and then act and share. In your life, in your various domains, in your different verticals, you would have used a lot of this, but these are the steps that I feel a person follows before the person takes any action. Starts from the task, completes the cycle, and then act and share. Now, supporting the cycle is that when we want to come up to an insight, it is not recommended to have one slide that speaks everything. No, it has to be like a story. Why story? Because storytelling these days is a very popular term. I'm great at storytelling. Trust me, I've learned storytelling from my grandparents. If I take you back and on the risk of being nostalgic, they used to tell us, okay, once there was a king. Then the king had two beautiful daughters. The elder daughter wanted to marry someone. That person was not liking the king's elder daughter, but then liked the younger one. So, just support the cycle. Similarly, remember what they were doing. They were incremental in their approach. In the first sentence, they did not tell that king had a huge family and they were incremental. They changed the data incrementally, and the way we were visualizing, we were able to digest the scene one after the other. They were expressive. They were adding emotions to it. There was no single view. The story moves frame by frame, unified. They were trying to bring the revolutionary changes in their technology. That was their speaking skill. And for us, it would be things like Tableau, which is leverage the revolutionary changes in the database technology. And direct. Finally, trust me, as a young kid, we would forget that our grandparents are telling story. We would get engrossed in the story itself. What does that mean? They made the tool disappear. They made themselves disappear and took you to the story cycle. How it works for data visualization. In the first slide, you should see a single line, maybe the usage in last 90 days. If you click in the next slide, you should see people who have used in next 90 days, who have never used in 90 days, who have moderately used in 90 days, who have at times used, in the last 90 days. If you click further, it should further step that, this is the previous year data, this is the current year's data. So the point I'm trying to say is, do not show everything on one single screen. Imagine these two graphs are not visible and immediately you are taken to this graph. What would happen? You would be confused how to understand. You would not be able to digest the story well. So I start from here that once there was a king in the first graph. In the second graph, the king had a family where king, king's wife, king, two daughter. In the next slide, these were the people in the king's family and these were the people outside king's family. Then you try to stitch your insights. So these are the important tips that I wanted to give you. Incremental, expressive, unified, and direct. Now, some best practices that I've gathered from my experience and maybe from the experiences of others. I have done a research on this primary as well as secondary, and with that, I have come up with some best practices. For example, representing data for humans, color, maps, creating dashboards. I will take the review of all these four. You would say that, these things are pretty simple. Why is Dr. Devesh telling us? I mean, a kid would also know. But trust me, people do not apply this. I have seen many mature individuals and professionals not complying to these basic tips. Now, the data could be, either qualitative or quantitative. And within qualitative, we would have a nominal or an ordinal data. Now, there are various ways to represent various data sets. How do we do it? Now, how do humans like their data? So, this research was done to understand from humans their taste and preferences, because it is said that customer is the king. And if for data visualization, my customer is sitting on the other side of the table and looking at the projector, I should see, what is favorite to king. I should show whatever he wants to see only. It is not my taste and preferences that would work. It is the king's taste and preferences that must be taken into consideration. The king wants to see quantitatively the position, the length, the size, and color intensity. What is it? How is it? I will show you. Now, I would share examples that how are these being used. Otherwise, these are also very confusing, that ordinal is used with color intensity, but categorical may have a different priority for that. Priority. The position has the highest priority. Who stood first in the class has the highest priority. Human minds has a tendency to read from top to bottom. Position, highest priority. Whenever I look at the computer screen, I look from left hand top and then I gaze like this, highest priority. I would not put any important thing on the right hand bottom, lowest priority. Position, color, size and shape. Position more important. How do I position my insight? There's an option in Excel that says conditional formatting. I'm sure most of you would have used it. What is conditional formatting, dear participants? It is the color, the size being represented as part of the pie chart. Again, what else? Shape. Shape has got the least priority. My circle represents this, my triangle represents this. People are not interested much. If you are able to convince them using the colors and size, the shape come at a lower priority. For instance, this may look like a web, but it is not a web. It is the route of the London buses. Now, the route of the London buses says, if I put time on the x-axis and the location on the map, the comparing values as a bar chart, the exploring relationships as a scatter plot, and relative proportion as a tree map, trust me, you're going to get confused. But my intent is to keep life simple for you. How? If this is the day, see 5, 7, 9. So I am representing Monday vis-a-vis the insights or the routes of the buses like this. So it's all created from Tableau. I will show you how does it work. That to calculate, okay, what were the peak hours, what were the off-peak hours. Imagine if I divide my day and want to show you that how, I am energetic or delivering my energy, I would plot my energy on a graph from 0 to 24, and I would be highest energetic at 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. At 12, the energy would come a little low. At 1 would be lower. I take lunch at 1:30. At 2 o'clock, it would be the lowest. Then I would start recovering at 3, at 4. And by the time my campus gets off, I would be quite energetic because I would be going to meet my family. Then at 6 and 7, the energy would be high. And in the evening, the energy would start coming a little low. The best form to show is a bar graph to put time of the day on the bottom axis, and on the vertical axis, I will put the level of energy. Now, the intent is to just make you think that not one graph fits all interpretation. There may be different kinds of graph that must be leveraged for different kinds of insights. I will show you one on one. Now, how do humans like their data? If you look at the left graph, just this graph, only this. Now see, if you look at this graph, if I ask you that tell me Pablo's intervention at 2010 3B, what do you think should be the value? Now, the biggest problem is that you are able to read these values, but it is very tough to read these values. I am just crossing, very tough, because you have to either tilt your neck like this, or you have to tilt the screen like this. Now, if you have to read 2007 to 10, again a problem. If you have to read the value, again a problem. These are automated computer generated graphs, but trust me, not a good deal at all. As a smart visualizer, I should be working on this graph. This graph is what I really like. Why so? Same problem. Pablo's 3B 2010. Very easy. Where is 3B? Where is Pablo? Where is 2010? This is the value. 5 seconds. So, my dear participants, at times people think and feel that whatever computer has generated is some great visual analytics and great visual insights, and they simply copy paste the graph and say, sir, this is what we got from Tableau. But my dear friends, it was very easy for us to make certain changes like this and present. A small 30 intervention I will show you in the subsection can help the visualizer get a great insight and a better impression of the printer. So it is a big no, not at all. However, it is a computer generated graph that has worked on various amazing algorithms, but it's a big no, because I keep telling people computer is not an alternate of human brain. There was a Hrithik Roshan movie who said that इंसान ने computer को बनाया, computer ने इंसान को नहीं. So on the risk of touching Bollywood, so this is what that we have created computer, but computer cannot decide completely that how the visual analytics would be better. However, there are some various deep learning and machine learning algorithms and working on AI, but still there is a scope for human intervention. Now, moving here, that there are people who use certain colors, but the colors are very closely related to each other. What does it mean? If I am using this kind of background and using these kind of similar colors, I'm mandatory to use these colors as part of the process guidelines. I'm left with no choice, but yes, there is a choice. I should highlight the color. You want to see like this. Provide a consistent background. Small tips, but trust me, these are the tips that are going to make big change in the life. In fact, I want to, quote the great Steve Jobs here. He said, it takes a lot of hard work to make things simple. Lot of hard works to make simple things. Complicated things can be easily created like this, but simple things take effort. And he also said that Apple products are equally beautiful inside than they are outside. So, as an electronics engineer, at times the engineer inside me wakes up and tends to open some Apple gadgets not in use, and the boards or the circuits are extremely beautiful. In case you happen to change battery of your Apple laptop, you would find the difference. They're extremely beautiful inside. What did he do? He used the basic visual analytics so that the human eye find it soothing. The design should be impressed. Now, this is again a Tableau snapshot. This is a snapshot created by Tableau and created for your reference here, where the dots are representing the sales and in various geographies and order priorities. Now, you are not able to distinguish, and it is looking like a toy which is being given to a kid to play with, small balls. Not at all helpful. And to my mind, it looks like those small crystals that if you put in water, they would balloon up. Not at all helpful. It's a big no for me. However, it's a Tableau output. Because human can distinguish up to 8 colors. So, somewhere or the other, human psychology, human biology, human brain needs to be catered because we are doing it for the human eyes. Entire visualization is for the human eyes, and it is nothing less than an eye specialist or an ophthalmologist doctor, because we also have to take care of the eyes especially, and visual analytics is all about eyes giving signal to the brain leading to action. Now this is helpful. Why? Because the colors are indicated. If I tell you that you have to Spotify the medium box, which is represented in red, you can say, okay, sir, here I can see a medium box. Here is a medium box. Now, if I tell you that the purple has been represented as small box, you would say that there are a lot of small boxes and the maximum number is the small box. And what is the number of jumbo drums? There are many jumbo drums, many jumbo drums. And what is the maximum value? The maximum is this one. And what is the most concentrated? I mean, closely packed, the blue one, the jumbo box. So the point in trying to convey here is not helpful at all. More than 8 colors, less than 8 colors, a good like. People at least can draw some insights. Similarly, for quantitative data, color intensity and diverging color palettes work well. We would learn in our subsequent session today itself, but just to give you an idea, it is again a Tableau snapshot, and this is a Tableau workshop which is happening. If the green color, more green color represent more profit, and red color represents loss or less profit, this is loss. And similarly, if I use visualization, you would see that, okay, this arrow represents profit and this arrow represents loss. So more the color green, more it is profit, more the color red, it is loss. So you can easily say that the count is more, the sale is more, but the profit is less. Here, the color green says the profit is more, but the sale, see, this is the sales on the x-axis. The sales are here. So I draw the dot here. So this is the sale, but the green represents healthy profit. Now, if I ask you, can you tell me a product that has made huge sales and huge profit? Your answer would be this. And if I ask you, can you tell me a product that has made huge sales but heavy losses, your answer would be this one. So it's a big no, it's a big yes. If the company wants to increase the production, and want to further amplify a product which is less penetrated in the market. Penetration means sales. But having profits, they would invest on this product. So it is a cash cow for them. Cash cow. You put more money here, you would get more profit. Imagine if the graph goes here. Look at the intensity of greens that is going to increase. Huge green, huge profit. So at times, these small graphs are leveraged to get business insights in a simpler way. Just for your understanding, I'm pausing for a minute on this slide so that you can gaze that how the color and the length are making two different implications. Moving on. Our next session is about location or geographical insights. So I would park this slide for the next session because it is talking about maps where location is relevant. Only the maps. So I'm moving on to the next slide. This will also be told to you in detail. This will be told to you in detail. It's again a geographical insight. Our entire next session is dependent, but just to give you food for thought, it is the map of a particular geography, say USA, and on the map of the country, various insights are plotted. Again, dark green represents more profit. Highest profit is here. Highest profit. Red represents losses. I'm talking about this. This is the loss. Imagine your eyes are feeling so good that just by looking on the graph, you can easily say, where are we incurring losses? Then you can take business decisions that if the entire geography surrounding is getting profitable, what is the problem here? If these geographies are getting connected, what is the problem here? Where do I share the best practices from? Here. Where do I take the remand of the sales manager? Here. So on the map, it is very pleasing, and the CEO or the HOD or the chancellor or the vice chancellor would have this much patience only to look at this graph rather than looking at the entire table. Because there are 100,000 things in their brain, we actually are in no mood to clutter it further, so we present these kind of graph to them. Now, this is also where we would learn that how the geographies are indicated with some values. But field maps won't work for subsequent session. And the theme is mapping to insight. Whatever we are doing here is with an objective of getting insight. And by insight, to take informed decisions. Only informed decision is my single point agenda. If I take decision and implement it, there are high chances my organization will be profitable, my college will be better rating, and my university will be one of the best if I take informed decisions. And that would come from insights, and insights would come from maps. Now, do not use maps just because you can. The line is pretty clear, and I would also put it, do not paste any graph if you think it is coming from Tableau. Tableau is not an alternative to human brain. Your intervention is required. Tableau would also give this graph and this graph. It is you who has to decide which graph should I pick. Or should I pick these, or should I try to represent it in some other way? Tableau will give you an output. It is just you who has to decide. Now, this is an interpretation where you would see, say, it's about baseball, but if I take it to cricket, so Chennai Super Kings would have their IPL match, and that's how the output would look like. If this is the bowler from Chennai Super Kings, and that's how his ball graph looks like, that when he balls in this area, when he does bowling like this, the orange means the runs are not scored. But if he pitches the ball somewhere outside here, I'm talking about sports analytics and visualization, then it's a big no. I remember so McGraw used to bowl from Australia, and the commentator said that if you plot a graph and put a handkerchief on the tip where the ball has touched the ground, the handkerchief would cover everything. So that was his precision. But how did the commentator reach at this insight? By looking at that graph. From mapping to insight. So these are, the trajectories, pitch speed versus vertical movement. You remember the graph that comes, the over by over update? Can look like this. The scores that have been created, I'm just taking you look back to the graphs that you see on the cricket match screen, or maybe next day in the newspaper. You can pick any newspaper that talks about any match that has happened. There would be at least 4 to 5 graphs. What were the scores that a player scored on the fast ball? How does he works on the slower ball? What is his response to the spin ball? No, commentators also used to say that Indian team plays spin very well. How did they arrive at this conclusion? Balls that were bowled by a spin bowler and the runs that were scored and the wickets that fell would be put in a separate graph. Fast balls, the scores and the wicket would be put in a separate graph. Then those graphs would have been compared at one point in time, and the efficiency, the runs per ball, the wickets per ball, all these KPIs or key performance indicators would have been measured before coming to an insight that Indian team plays spin bowling better than the other players or maybe a fast bowler. Similarly, mapping to insights don't have to be geographic. We have also seen that AB de Villiers is also called AB 360 when he hits in all the directions. So these are also, they have not created a geographic graph, but yes, the ground is being converted to a geography, and that's how they present. No need to put that he plays Wankhede mein aisa and Eden Gardens mein like this, not required. But a ground, so they have changed the dimensions. So dashboards, what are the dashboards? When you bring together multiple views, like I was talking, that spin bowler performance, fast bowler performance, medium bowler performance, and googly balls. So when you bring different type of balls together on the same graph, the different type of bowling categories on the same graph, you tend to create a dashboard. That is called a dashboard. Multiple views together is called a dashboard. The dashboard necessarily has more than one graphs. One graph, the second graph year on year, and the third graph. 2 or 3 graphs being brought together and compared are called dashboards. There are people who are experts for dashboards and dashboard designers, etc. But they have to decide that what type of graph should I put and how. Imagine the position. If I tell you that if we bring this graph here and this graph here, the visual may not look that appealing. because the designer knows that my left hand side graph is going to take too much length or the height. So let me utilize this side for one graph. Now I am breaking my sheet into two parts, and I would utilize space like this. So this is going to be my first graph. This is going to be my second, and this is. So he has broken the canvas into three parts. That's how it looks like. So whenever you are given an opportunity to create a dashboard, break the canvas in your mind and then you design. So once, Walt Disney thought of designing the Disneyland, and during one of the inauguration phase, somehow, unfortunately, he kicked the bucket and passed away. The inauguration was postponed and his wife replaced his seat and was sitting. One of the employees said that, ma'am, it would have been great if Walt Disney would have been here to see the inauguration. He created a beautiful thing. He should have seen it on the ground. His wife replied that he was the first person to see in the brain. This implies that any dashboard, any graph, any beautiful design, any output that you want to show to the real world is first created here and then on the ground. So that's how you win a battle. First, you win the battle in your mind and then on ground. So goes for dashboards. Whenever you want to design a dashboard, just design them in your mind first and then design on the dashboard palette. That's how it works. Now, similarly, dashboard has a 5-second test. What is 5 second? I give you food for thought that what is this 5-second test? If I give you a hint, is it that human brain gives the maximum attention in first 5 seconds as each one of you would have given? And maybe if you try to make sense in first 5 seconds, you understand. And if you do not, you tend to seek support and stop liking the graph. Maybe, but you have to study about the 5-second test. The tip for you is it should be appealing in first 5 seconds. Now, most important view on the top, the tips for these 5 seconds I am giving you. On the top left. So I was telling you that the human brain studies from the top or maybe from the top left. So whenever you want to put any important information, do not try to hide it or do away with it. Put it on the top or the top left, point number 1. Legends go near their views. For instance, if this is my view, the legend should be closer. So this is the legend to my view. This is the legend for this view. They have to be closer to the view. If I put this legend here at the bottom of the graph, trust me, it would stop making sense. Try to get the legend, go near their views. Avoid using multiple color schemes. I told you not more than 8 colors. But here is the point. If it's a single dashboard, try to stick to 3 to 4 colors, not more than this. Color 1, color 2, color 3, and 4. Color 1, color 2. Maybe a third color. Here, color 1, color 2, color 3, maybe a color 4. So try to, avoid using multiple color schemes. Try to get to the soothing views to the eyes. So, Henry Ford once said that you can take any color of your choice from our car as long as it is black. So he was also trying to cut the color theme. Now, use 5 views or fewer in dashboards, less than 5. Do not fill the dashboard like crazy and provide interactivity. I think these unwanted blue lines have come up. I'm not doing it. Let me just try. So most important view goes on the top. Legend go near their views. Avoid using multiple scheme. 5 views or fewer. I would love if there are 3 or maximum 4. Because if you put 5 views, trust me, how would it look like? Confusion. Provide interactivity. They should be speaking to one another. So this is sir my geographic inside. Then I move here and then I move here. So you study like this. I am providing interactivity. They should be interactive and speaking to each other and speaking to the viewer as well. Dashboarding, 5-second test. Use your words like titles. What are the titles that you should be using? Axis, what does axis represent? Key facts and figures, you should have the facts and figures handy. Remove extra digits. I've been telling you ever since we started this FDP that try to remove the second decimal places from wherever possible, because unnecessarily it would add to the clutter of the graph. So this graph does not have a single decimal view, and if I would have put it here, trust me, it looks very confusing, too much jitter in it, and plethora of noise that none of us would want. Remove extra digits and number is the golden tip, and great tool tips are again that we will do. We would help people see and understand their data. The keyword is see when we talk about data visualization. I think that's enough shared for the first session, and that's the presentation I wanted to share with each one of you. And now, with the permission of the honorable organizers and my respected colleagues, we can move to the Q&A round so that the session also becomes quite interactive.
Okay, sir, thank you. Participant, do you have any question?
Or ma'am, you can ask on their behalf or refer to the chat box. So just to instigate the queries, you can ask questions about various verticals of the organization. I would try to share my insights from various verticals. You can ask from verticals like marketing, sales, HR, because I take modules on HR analytics, sales analytics, marketing analytics. So more or less analytics, or maybe you can ask about the history, then I can give some insights, but I have parked about the history of analytics for the next session. How did it start? When did it start? Who were the first one? And when did it all came to existence? So I'm getting a lot of responses and encouragements about good session, but the onus is on you to at least ask 1 or 2 questions. So as a teacher, I would appreciate that if people who are taking the session or learning from here ask a question, and the others are also benefited. So we have 93 participants here. It's a wonderful platform, and trust me, I am very happy to have such a set of learned people, and most of you are faculties, and being an FTTP, as a short-term training program sponsored by AICTE. I think it's a wonderful platform to get connected, and the technology has helped us a lot. So you can ask question about visualization. Thank you. If I tell you, okay, just to instigate the discussion, what are the various vertical, okay?
So, the question has been
Right. So, dashboard is a collection of multiple forms, and the story is a collection of multiple dashboards. That's correct. The question has been asked by Surya Saxena from IMS Ghaziabad. So, Surya, this is pertinent when we talk about only Tableau, right? Story. Otherwise, in outside Tableau, generally we do not call it story. But dashboard is something that has multiple graphs, or maybe one or more than one graph as a dashboard. In corporate, we generally call that, okay, show me the dashboard. Dashboard is a reflection of a descriptive analytics or an activity that has happened in the past. And if we talk about predictive analytics, then we do a forecasting. So to answer the query, yes, dashboard is a collection of multiple forms, multiple graphs that are being created, and to get an insight of the descriptive part that has happened in the past, and to draw insights or informed business decision for the future, that is going to be the predictive analytics part. And yes, a story is a collection of multiple dashboards. Dr. Sonam Mittal, to your question, the slide will be shared with our presenters, the organizers, and the slide will subsequently be shared with you on the registered email ID. The slide will be shared, has been shared by me with Dr. Anant, and the team will share with you. A PPT would be shared, not just the slide, the recordings too, I'm not sure. But I think recording is not required. The PPT is self-explanatory, and recordings is at times, generally, I have experienced that it's for internal consumption and record purpose. People who have attended do not need recordings. Okay. So wonderful, ma'am. I think the session from my side is open for further queries, and anybody I would request from the organizers side can ask a question in case they want to regarding anything from my experience or maybe anything that you want to ask. IFET, I request you, and in case we want to halt the session for lunch break, I don't mind.
Participant, do you have any question? Thank you, sir. It's time to thank you. I may like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Devesh Bathla for giving an excellent coverage in basic visual analytics. Through this, we learned how the insights in visual form are tremendously helpful in the field of business intelligence as well as in the field of data analytics. Thank you for imparting your knowledge to us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. It's indeed an honor and privilege to be part of this great engagement program. And I am thankful to IFET College of Engineering, which is an autonomous institution in Villupuram. And my heartfelt thanks to you. And I would say an equal big thanks to AICTE for sponsoring this event. And the biggest thanks goes to the patience of the participants who have been very kind and very patient throughout. And I'm sure they would not only just learn, but also leverage this insight to further transmit this knowledge to the students and their disciples. And they would continue the spirit of the knowledge sharing and giving the benefit to the students as well as the society. So thank you once again from the bottommost core of my heart. And I really look forward to the next session, which is scheduled at 2 p.m. Thank you very much.